Hi, it's me again, Ray from the Radio Workshop. I want to talk this time about shortwave, HF bands, communications, not only pirates, shortwave listening. I suppose being the age I am, obviously I can remember back to the 60s when I first started listening around on shortwave, well, late 50s, on my parents' radio in the lounge, had shortwave on it, had an aerial wire going up round the loft, and I used to tune around seeing what I could hear on shortwave. But it's being that age that I am, that is why I think getting quite a few younger people saying, what was it like? You know, you might think, well, that's a daft question, what do they mean? What was it like on shortwave, listening around in those days? What was it like amateur radio wise in those days, pirating in those days? Because you know, you get people now, and I don't know, they say 20s, 30s, 40s even. You know, they don't know what it was all about in the 60s. I mean, shortwave then was packed. There was shipping, there was aircraft. I mean, there's still aircraft. There's still shipping, you know, to an extent. But I mean, the trawler band, for example, roughly what 1.7, 1.8, up to about 3 megs. All fishing stuff, fishing boats out of the channel. You know, I'm down on the coast, out of the channel. Local fishermen, they'd have chats on, you know, 2 point something megs. They didn't have VHF in their boats in those days, or very few did. I remember when 1 or 2 started going over to VHF marine radio. You know, most of them though were on the trawler band. In fact, some of the old domestic radios you see on the dial, trawler band, you could tune around and listen to the fishing boats. And, you know, the trawlers, the bigger fishing boats. Coast Guard stations. Down here we've got Knighton Radio, there's Dover Coast Guard, that way. You know, it was so much to listen to in those days. It was completely different. And this is why people have said, you know, can you... well, basically tell us some stories about the good old days. I think the best place to start is Echo Charlie. There's so much around the internet about Echo Charlie, 6.6 megs. The stuff I've read, you know, I don't know where people get this stuff from. Echo Charlie has been going for decades, yeah, that's true. I remember first listening on Echo Charlie, I was about, what, 14, 13. Got a decent half decent shortwave receiver, and there's people on AM on 6.6 megs chatting to each other. They were illegal, they were pirates. Wow, that was exciting. I got my first 19 set. I was on Echo Charlie, but there's you know, there was the Delta Oscar frequencies. I've talked about the CCF stuff before. So I won't mention that too much, but there was the Delta Oscar Tango Golf. Echo Charlie was the pirate one. The others was the combined cadet force. Yeah, there's so much been written about Echo Charlie. Why was it called Echo Charlie? I don't think there was a reason. It was just, you know, what you call a particular frequency. You know, we had frequencies. We used to operate locally as pirates. Well, I didn't. My mates did. On 3.3 megs, 3.33 megs, and I forget what we called that. I don't know. Oh no, I don't. It's Fox Tango. That's right, FT. We call it Fox Tango, not for any reason. You know, we'd be on some frequency and we'd say, okay, you know, QSY to Fox Tango, and we go down to 3.33 megs, which is what, 3330 kilohertz. It's all changed. That's another thing that's changed. All this kilohertz. Used to be KCs, kilocycles. There we are. That's another issue. So I don't think EC for Echo Charlie had any particular meaning. It was just something to call it. You know, you could have called it egg and chips, if you like. Oh, that is EC. That's a coincidence. EC, Echo Charlie. Oh dear. Weird. Uncanny. Ghostly. No, we're not doing ghosts in this video. We've done ghosts in the last couple of videos. So yeah, Echo Charlie basically was a pirate frequency. There were other frequencies that people that just wanted to chat to each other, they drift away to wherever. I mean, bear in mind there was like sort of 2 on a 19 set, 2 to about, what was it, 8 megs, So you could, anywhere in there you could go and have a chat, totally illegally, unless you're a radio amateur. Of course, it covered the amateur bay of 40 metres, 80 metres, and you could just squeeze in the 160 metre amateur band. Bear in mind, I'm not kind of justifying the use of 6.6 megs or advocating pirating, you know. As you know, I'm an upright pillar of the community. Perish the thought, good grief. Illegal things going on like that. Look at that lovely AC voltmeter, look. Got that the other day. Anyway, so yeah, Echo Charlie, that's all it was. It came about, as far as I know, the release by the MOD of kind of army surplus gear, 19 sets, 22 sets, 62 sets, C12, 18 set, all this army surplus stuff, the 19 set in particular. When all that kind of flooded the market, anyone and everyone could get hold of this stuff, and they'd find themselves, on the air. Right, you needed to know what you're doing. You had to build a power supply. You needed to put up an aerial. It wasn't just a case of like today's black boxes you buy, plug it in, hello, I'm on the air. It wasn't that easy. But that's what really kicked the whole thing off with pirating, was the army surplus gear, all this military gear that covered all these frequencies. It was ideal. Although I said I don't advocate pirating and using Echo Charlie and all that, it was invaluable. Most radio amateurs that I knew started off as pirates. It was such a fantastic way to learn. I had a shortwave receiver and I'd listened to this stuff. When I first went to work, I was 15 when I went to work in a radio and TV workshop, and I met my first real live pirate there. One of the TV engineers was a pirate, and we got on pretty well, and he gave me a transmitter that he built, and explained, he taught me about it, he explained things, taught me what to do, and I set it up. And I remember this was my first ever contact on the radio, and it was on 6.6 megs. Well, it wasn't me. It was this bloke that looked like me, and I'm in Worthing, he was in Shoreham, and we're actually chatting on the air, and I was just, that was it, I was hooked. In Worthing we had a army surplus store, fantastic place, you've probably heard of it, GWM Radio, Portland Road, Worthing, known around the world, literally known around the world. It was brilliant. Of course I went down there. I have a 19 set, please. £1 10 shillings. How about that? 30 bob. Got my pound out, my pound note. Don't have those anymore. My 10 shilling note, 30 bob. They are on the saddle of my bike. Wheeled it all the way back to the workshop, and this friend of mine looked at it. Yeah, that's a good one. That would be all right. Need to build a power supply. Wheeled it home. Right, what, 2-3 miles? Certainly 2.5 miles on the saddle of my bike, the 19 set, going along the road. Excellent stuff. But that's how people learnt about radio communication in particular. And as I say, the majority of radio amateurs that I know started out as pirates. In fact, mentioning no names or which Coast Guard station it was, a friend of mine started out as a pirate, ended up as a radio officer at a Coast Guard station. So there we are. Is that, yeah, that's pretty good actually, thinking about it. It's not quite poacher is it poacher turned gamekeeper, or gamekeeper turned poacher? No, that would be, that was another chap I knew. He went and worked for the GPO. He was a pirate and he went and worked for the GPO catching pirates. Anyway, there we are. So that was the way to learn, and you did learn. You learned everything just by listening, tuning around shortwave. On the shipping, the trawler band, there were also the big, the cargo ships, passenger ships. I can't even say it properly. Passenger ships. They would do the ship-to-shore phone calls through a local, whichever Coast Guard station they were near. So if some passenger on board, I want to phone home, don't you know? These rich people, they go on these cruises. Well, they probably weren't all rich. And they want to phone home, so they go to the radio room, and the chap would, on the radio, he'd call the whatever Coast Guard station, and they patched through the phone thing. Now I knew a chap, wasn't me, he got on his radio, he called the Coast Guard and said he was whatever ship he was. I think he'd been listening, he'd heard a ship, and he said, could you put me through to so and so number, gave them a phone number, and he on his radio was talking to his mate via the Coast Guard, the ship to shore place, on his mate's phone at his house. Patched him through. And when the Coast Guard said, who's it chargeable to? Well, I won't say which company, but he charged it to this company. So that was a learning curve, wasn't it? Yeah, that was learning what not to do, I think. I mean, I didn't do stuff like that. Good grief. I did actually have a piece of equipment from the surplus shop. It was a phone patching thing. You plug the phone line in, you've got a dial on it, you've got a handset, and you've got connections to the radio. And I did actually sort of get that going once. Not that I used it, of course, but I did actually get that going. Just going back to 19 sets and the like, all very low power stuff. You were lucky to get about 8 watts of RF out of a 19 set, to be honest. Unless you modified it heavily, you were lucky to get about 8 watts out. Our aerials weren't particularly good. I had a dipole aerial fed with 75 ohm TV coax straight in the 19 set. I mean, I don't know what the SWR was, probably dreadful. Didn't have an SWR meter, just load things up for maximum smoke, and off you go. Because the great advantage we had then was the lack of interference. Mobile phones, switch mode power supplies, plasma TVs, computers, all this stuff that pumps out hash and interference just didn't exist. There was there was a bit of interference, a thermostat clicking on and off, that was it. Electric motor somewhere, that might, the armature, the brushes on the comms spark a little bit, bit of interference on shortwave, but that was it. The only interference problem was us wiping out people's tellies, the old 405 line VHF tellies. You're on AM and you could, I remember my neighbour coming and tapping on my shed door, you on your radio again? No, not me. He said, well, I can hear you on my telly. Actually hear what I'm saying, So my friend around his neighbour, anyway. So yeah, it was quiet, and with a 19 set with, as I say, just a few watts and an average type aerial, I could speak to people all over the UK. I remember speaking to people abroad in Europe. It wasn't sort of amazing. It's amazing now if you can speak to someone all over the UK, speak to people with a few watts. The interference level now is, I also think propagation has changed. I don't know how that could be, but in those days, this is when I was licensed, I'd be on 80 metres, Sunday, day off, I'm on 80 metres, and you're chatting all over the country throughout the day. And signals were pretty good, 5 and 7, 5 and 8, 5 and 9. You might get 1 or 2 that were 5 and 5. It wasn't a problem because the noise level was like S1 or 2. So if someone's only S5, it's fine, you can hear them. These days, it's just a nightmare. Even if the noise level is down a bit, the band seems to be dead. And it's not that there's no one there. There are people about. I don't know, propagation seems to have changed. The whole thing seems to have changed, which is a great shame because, it was, well, it still is such a great hobby, whether you're pirating or licensed or both. I mean, I do know a lot of radio amateurs, not so many these days, licensed amateurs that also just have a quick tune down to 6.6 megs, Echo Charlie, and have a little chat there to whoever might be around. A lot of us built our own gear. Not so much receivers, because there were communications receivers about, but transmitters. I remember the first transmitter I built was 10 watts, that little valve transmitter, crystal controlled on 6.6 whatever megs, and I fired it up and I called out and this chap answered me and he said, I remember he said, lovely audio and a really good signal. He said, where are you? You must be down the road from me. He was in North Wales. I'm down in Worthing. He's in North Wales. I was amazed. A little transmitter, the first one I actually built on my own. You know, the other one, I've been given one that had been built by someone else. I built this one. What was I, 16 or something? 15, 16. Incredible. What an achievement. But, I mean, I didn't try it. My friend, he was a radio amateur. He tried it because he had a licence. I will stop it. Anyway, building transmitters. That was the thing. That was the thing that hooked me. And building sort of bigger and bigger and bigger and better ones. Where I worked at the radio and TV shop, in the afternoon, you know, we'd get this was later on in years when I was, what, 18, 19, 20, get rid of the TV repairs, transmitter on the bench, it's sort of mid-afternoon, right, and work on the transmitter. I remember one afternoon, the boss was coming, so I grabbed a telly, put it in front of the chassis of the transmitter I was building, and he said, Ray, go to the showroom, and there's an Echo model so-so TV, check it over and stick it in my car for me. And in those days it wasn't sort of Christian names, it was surnames, like Grace Brothers. You know, if you ever watched Grace Brothers, you know, Mrs. Stoker, would you do so? Certainly Mr. what was his name? Mr. Partridge or whatever he was. Anyway, I said, yes, Mr. Brown, of course. I went to the showroom, and the showroom manager, he was dreadful. What are you doing? What? I said, I've come for this set. I've got to check it over and put it in Mr. Brown's car. What? You're not taking that? What for? What? He was just like that. And anyway, he wouldn't let me take it. So I went back. I said, Mr. Brown, I made up these names. Mr. Smith, he wouldn't let me take it. Wouldn't let you take? Why? What do you mean he wouldn't let you take it? Just put it in my car. Don't worry about him. I went back. Mr. Smith, I've got to put it in Mr. Brown's car. You know? But you're not taking that TV. It's not leaving the showroom. That TV. What is staying here? What? And of course, these two, they hated each other, and it ended up. Mr. Brown went to the showroom. Huge row going. There's shouting and shouting. This row going on. I'm back in the workshop building my transmitter. And of course, Mr. Brown comes in and catches me. What are you doing? Just building. Actually, he was all right. We got on quite well. He actually helped me with the design because he was saying, "What's this? You can't have that. You want to do it this way and that way." So, yeah, happy days. The place I worked at, it was absolutely brilliant. It was like a holiday camp. There was this other chap used to spend most of his time building medium wave transmitters. I spent my time building shortwave transmitters. And sometimes the other way around, well, depending on what we're up to. Anyway, there we are. But yeah, the whole point is learning. This is the thing, learning all the time. That's where, I mean, it's where pirate radio really, it's where we all started. As I said, most licensed radio amateurs started off as pirates. Well, I won't say most, don't want to upset them, but a lot of them, quite a few of them. And, you know, radio and TV engineers, they usually became radio and TV engineers because it wasn't for the money, certainly. It was because, you know, electronics, that sort of thing, valves and all that in those days, that was a hobby. You know, a lot of radio and TV engineers were also radio amateurs, and they had been pirates. So the whole thing all fits in together, you know, tele engineers, pirates, amateurs, you name it. It was all one mix. And you know, I met a lot of people, obviously on the radio, made quite a few friends that way. What we'd do if someone was fairly nearby, you'd chat to them on the radio and you'd say, "Okay, well, do you know so-and-so pub? I'll meet you there, 8 o'clock. And you have to be a bit careful because, you know, you don't know who you're meeting. So, you know, I remember going to the pub. I was, say, 18, 19, long hair, hippie, you know, pint of Watney's Red or pint of DD, Double Diamond. Happy days. And stand in the pub and see some bloke come in. Does he look like a pirate? Yeah, I don't know, he could be. And meet people that way. I remember once going to a pub to meet this chap. Wasn't me, my friend. I just went with him. And this chap came in and we thought, that can't be him. It's about our age, but it was suit, shirt and tie and, you know, short hair. What's this? He's not one of us. He's not a pirate. Anyway, he sort of came over and he was chatting to us, and he echoed Charlie. We're looking at each other. No, Charlie, don't know anyone called Charlie. Who's Charlie then? Then he was saying, no, you know, on the radio. Anyway, he realised he wasn't going to get anywhere. We're denying everything. You know, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, oh, don't worry about the clothes. He said, I work in a radio and TV showroom in Brighton, which he, you know, not far away from us. So, you know, we thought he was sort of CID or GPO, you know. Imagine it's some sort of sting, you know, some ploy, and we get busted. But that was great fun, you know, meeting people like that. Or I see you in the pub, and you're looking around, you know, I wonder who it is. Yeah, indeed, they were happy days. Just been to a car boot sale. Bought that picture for £1. Why? Why do I want a picture? And what's it got to do with radio? Look, it's a stealth aerial. I've put wire around it. It's a frame aerial capacitor. I might show you that working in a minute, but that's not what we're here for. I was in GWM Radio in Portland Road. I was, what, 16, 17, buying bits for a transmitter. Big variable capacitors, big tank coil I found. What they used to do, they'd get sort of big commercial transmitters, strip them and sell all the bits. So things like, you know, huge tuning with capacitors with variable, you know, wide-spaced vanes, you know, they were freely available. And this chap was in there, a lot of people milling around. He said, oh, what are you building? And I said, a transmitter. And the chap that owned the shop, Les, he was behind this chap, and he's sort of doing this. So I, you know, don't take much notice. And this other chap said, oh, a transmitter, you know, what's that for? Amateur bands or, you know, whatever? And I said, no, medium wave, you see. And Les, the shop owner, he's doing all this business. I think, well, what's he doing? What's about it? It's gone a bit weird. So this chap said, oh, medium wave. And I said, yeah, pirate radio station on medium wave. You know, going to be 100 watts or whatever I was going on about. You know, I was sort of young and excitable and stuff. And he said, oh, right, oh, pirate radio. And Les is making out, he's pulling out his hair. And all this business. Anyway, eventually this chap wandered off, and Les said to me, do you know who that is? No, customer, you know, who is he? He said, it's Ron Dalton. He's the big GPO man, the big pirate buster. Oh, he said, you've just told me you're building a medium wave transmitter. Oops. Oh dear, happy days. Yeah, this chap, Ron Dalton, he used to hang around. He was the pirate buster. He took many people to court over the years. None of us, well, one of us lot, one chap, but you know, there's me telling him I'm building a medium wave pirate transmitter. I might have to end the video here actually. This has come in for repair. I've got what is it, 7 radios now in the queue to be repaired, restored. Knob missing there. I better get on with some work. I've got loads of these stories. I don't know, are people interested? I know people like the ghost stories. I've told a couple of ghost video type stories. I don't know if people are interested, you know, I'll carry on. Loads of stories about the good old days and pirating and the radio and TV workshop, some of the things that people got up to. I don't know, so I won't go into it now, but I don't know, they were just amazing days. Yeah, the things, you lose someone's telly, lose a customer's telly. We had a bell push, right, with a bell battery and a bell up there, and that was the flap bell. If the bell goes, someone presses the button, ding, 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 we'd all go to the sort of the muster point, if you like, you know, where the bell was. What's the trouble? What's happened? Someone's TV's lost. Right, it's a Murphy blah 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 model TV. It came in whenever, and we can't find it. Came in for repair and it's lost. You know, I don't know where these TVs went. So you know, everyone's mission was to find this customer's damn telly. You know, he's down in the shop waiting and waiting for his telly. He's been told it's ready for collection, and he's come into the shop to pick it up, and we can't find the damn thing. Yeah, all sorts of stories. There we are. So yeah, I don't know, I better get on with this. I'll have a little think and then perhaps end the video. There is just one thing that's come to mind. Someone, I think it was on the last video, mentioned about you know, shortwave pirating, etc. What about Cold War type communications in the 60s on shortwave. Yeah, I did come across various things. Probably save these for another video, perhaps the next one. But you know, tuning around, you'd hear all sorts of things going on, strange things. I remember once I heard a chap saying, "Yes, I can see your light." And the other chap said, "Okay, I've got 12." And I'm thinking, what's this? And I forget their exact wording, but from other things they were saying, I realised it was a boat coming into the shore. And it was somewhere along the Worthing seafront, Worthing, Ferring, Goring, out that way. And it was obviously someone, you know, bringing in, I don't know, I suppose people from across the channel and dumping them here. And I happened to mention this to this, you know, this Ron Dalton chap, and he was very interested. Where was this? What frequency was? I think that was around 3.3 megs. You know, our little pirate frequency. Because he was not only obviously catching medium wave pirates, his job was also a lot more than that. So that was quite interesting. A lot of other stuff you'd hear, you know, tuning around. I remember there was a program, a news item on the news. A couple, I forget where they were, a couple had been caught. They were spies in the UK. In their house they had a radiogram. They showed a picture of this radiogram. Slide the, what was a false speaker front, slide that back. There's a transmitter in there. Morse key, you know, they're sending stuff back to, I don't know, Moscow or wherever it was, I don't know. So there was all sorts of stuff going on shortwave. And as this chap said, you know, have you got any Cold War communication type stories? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I used to hear, but all very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to end it here, just in case everyone's dozed off and got, you know, bored to death. Hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, depending on the feedback, I'll do more of these. We'll see what the feedback is. Oh, there's always one chap on YouTube, you know, the thumbs up and the thumbs down. There's always one thumbs down. Every video I put on, there's a thumbs down. It's got to be the same chap. So whoever you are, you know, don't get, you know, put your thumbs down. See you next time. Bye.